Hi there, in this video we'll be covering the basic of the where clause, which is part of a SQL statement. It's just another keyword. So for example, if I take select star from amp and I will go ahead and click run, this is going to return all the data from the employee table. We are selecting all the columns from amp. Now I can further filter this query, and to do that we can add the where clause. So we are adding the where keyword to this query. To do that we need to add the where here. So let's say we only want to see those records. So let's say that the person needs to be a manager. To do that we can say where job is equal to manager. So this query is going to return me all the manager. So this is going to return me all the records that contains the word manager in the job column. So these single quotes around the manager are necessary. So you have to have these single quotes when you are comparing data that is textual in nature or with words or sentences. So if I select all this statement and click run, this will return me all of the columns in the employee table, but it's going to be filtered where the job is equal to manager is the job for the particular person in this table. So as you can see here, Blake is a manager, Clark is a manager, and Jones is also a manager. So we can actually break this in multiple lines, or we can leave it in the same line, but it's actually more clearer when we break it like this. So we have select from where on the 3 different lines. It's just easier to read that way. So the first line is selecting different columns. In this case we want all of the columns because of this asterisk wildcard, and from is our source. So where are the source? Where are we getting this data from? Well, that is the employee table. Where is where we are filtering it by some conditions, where job is equal to manager. So let's select on the entire table to make sure that these are only the manager in the company. So let's go ahead and click select all and click run. So as we can see on this table, we can see that we only have 3 manager, and that's Blake, Clark, and Jones. So let me select all the query again and click run, and again we get these 3 records. So again, SQL is a case insensitive language, meaning we don't need to worry about the case. So for example, I can do select, and the from I can have the capital, where I can leave a lowercase, job I can have capital, and if I select all and run this, everything is going to still be run as expected. But if I do this and change this capital letter to from manager to lowercase manager here, so take a guess what will happen if we do this. So let's go ahead and try to run this. So notice down here, no data found. So this is an important thing to keep in mind. A lot of people get confused when they hear that SQL is a case insensitive language, meaning you don't need to worry about capital letter or lowercase. But in the case when we are comparing things, when it comes to data, SQL needs to be very, very exact. So when it comes to data, when we are comparing on different cells, we need to make sure that the data matches exactly on this filter condition when we say job is equal to manager. So if this particular word lowercase manager is not in job column, it's not going to get run. So let's go ahead and select all from the empty table. So this is actually what needs to be going in there for this query to be run successfully. So let's go ahead and click run. If any of these character is lowercase, it will not be an exact match. So that entire record will not be returned. So notice when you select everything here and click run, you will see that no data is found. So now let's go ahead and check for salesman. Select the entire thing and click run. As we can see, we only get salesman. Allen, Ward, Martin, and Turner. So the important thing to keep in mind, SQL is not case sensitive when it comes to comparing data using the equal and other comparison operator, less than, greater than, or equal to, or so on. So remember that the comparison is strict. You must have the exact string in here to what you're comparing against. So we can actually filter on different columns. So instead of taking the job, we can take the ename and we can compare it to Allen, which is down here. So let's go ahead and select all this and click run. So notice that Allen is the only record that was returned. So let's go ahead and add more condition. So let's say where is equal to salesman, and here's another keyword. We've seen where, we have seen from, and we have seen select. Here we have another keyword named and it's exactly the same as where. So after you have where, your rest of your condition needs to be and. So that is just how the SQL language is designed. Now we're selecting from emp where job is salesman, and we can do sal is equal to, for example, we can go ahead and select all of these again and click run, and let's say we want the salary to be 1,600. So let's go ahead and copy this and let's say commission is equal to, so let's say that the commission is 500. So let's take a look at this data. You should have the same table and see if we get the expected result. So what do you think will happen when we run this? So let's go ahead and select all of these and click run. And notice that no data is found. So when this happens, and it happens a lot when you're doing SQL development, let's say you are expecting that the data to be returned. It may be that your conditions are not correct. So we can actually start filtering out one by one to see whether this is the problem or this particular statement is the problem. We don't actually know. So let's go ahead and run this first. So as we can see, up to this point, it's correct. So we got the SQL query that was expected to be run. So we know we have the salesman as a job and the salary of 1,600. But when I added this condition, commission to be 500, when I add this condition to this query no longer returns data. It's because this particular salesman does not have 500 as a commission. So as we can see here, it actually has the commission of 300. So we are actually filtering this record further when the SQL interpreter gets to this particular line, then this record will not be returned. Now if I go ahead and change this to 300, now this record will be returned by running this entire query. We can have further condition over here. We can have and that number is equal to 30. So when we select all of these and click run, this record will still get returned. So when we add another condition here, where ename is equal to bill, and of course when we select all of these, this one will not return anything. No data found. So remember to practice the select, from, where. This is the foundation of SQL. So 99% of your work in SQL will contain the select, the from, the where, and the ands eventually. But they just need another keyword to further filtering. So try to understand this query. So memorize this if you can in this order. So for example, if I put this where and before the from, so when I go ahead and select this and click run, this will not be a valid SQL command. As you can see here, from keyword not found where expected. So this is a totally inaccurate syntax. So we need to have from first. Let's copy this. So after the select, we need the from. And then you have the where clause. And then you have the and clause. So let's go ahead and select all and click run. And this is returning data. So one important thing that I want to point out, for example, if I changed that number to 300, which is 30 here, it's not going to return any data. So if you go ahead and select this one and click run, now this is different than a syntax error. This is actually a perfect valid query. It's a correctly parsable query. So the interpreter understands perfectly what we are looking for. This query is 100% accurate. It's just that the condition that we provided does not return any data because the data does not exist in our table. If there were a syntax error in this query, where we, for example, use the wrong keyword on the same area, that's a syntax parsing error, which means that the interpreter doesn't know what you mean. But when it's a perfectly formatted query like this one, with the select, from, where, and in the perfect place, and we are referencing columns that exist on the table, and that is a perfectly accurate query. It's just that the data does not exist. And another thing is, so let's go back to running the original select star from emp, and let's go ahead and click run to get all of the data. So let's say I reference a particular column that does not exist in this column layout. So let's say that we are selecting from L name to represent the last name. If I select that and click run, notice that it says L name invalid identifier. This column does not exist in this table. So this is also an inaccurate query. So the interpreter doesn't know what you mean. It does not know what L name is. So we actually need to put the correct column name. So ename is actually the name of the column. So when we go ahead and select that and click run, we are fine with that. So remember, column name needs to be correctly spelled. So select, from, and where is the correct order. Keep that in mind and don't forget it. Memorize it if you have to. And after the where, if further conditions are required, we need to use and. So that is for today. Thanks for watching and have a great day.